Alperen Sengun is a name that you might have not heard a lot of last season, but you're probably hearing his name more and more this year. The second-year player out of Turkey has been a bright spot for the Houston Rockets this year, establishing himself as one of the most exciting young centers in the NBA, and he's actually been frequently drawing comparisons to Nikola Jokic for his impressive passing ability and talent when scoring out of the post. Now, a quick glance at his box score numbers this year, and you can see that statistically his numbers have improved from last year to this year, and he definitely has improved overall as a player. However, I'm going to personally advocate for the idea that everything that he's doing this year production-wise, he was capable of last year, but he simply wasn't getting the opportunity to show us that. Now, while we could look at his raw stats from last season and compare them to this season to try and analyze these improvements, that's not really going to tell the whole story. He was playing fewer minutes last year, and his role was a little bit different. So instead, let's take a look at his numbers per 75 possessions from last year and then compare them to this year. Last year, he recorded 16.6 points, 9.5 rebounds, and 4.4 assists per 75 possessions on 47.4% shooting from the field and 24.8% shooting from three. This year, he's recording 20 points, 11.6 rebounds, and 4.4 assists per 75 possessions on 57.3% shooting from the field and 31.3% shooting from three. Now, when you look at those numbers, you can tell he's improved in almost every single statistical category since his rookie season, except for assists. But even though his assist numbers per 75 possessions haven't increased, he has very clearly improved as a passer, something that he was already really good at. One of the hallmarks of being a good playmaker is the ability to make your teammates better by putting them in positions to succeed, and Sengun has been doing that this year. When the Rockets have him on the floor, they clock an offensive rating of 112.9, which, yes, still isn't exactly an elite offense by any stretch, but when you look at the fact that the Rockets have an offensive rating of 105.7 when he's off the floor, you start to get an idea of how important he is. Another aspect of Houston's offense to take a look at is their half-court offense. As many Houston fans surely know, the Rockets haven't been the best when it comes to half-court offense this season. In fact, they've actually been the worst half-court offense in the NBA, scoring only 89.9 points per 100 possessions. But when Sengun is on the floor, that half-court offensive rating goes up to 94.6 points per 100 possessions. Now, the league average half-court offensive rating is 97.5, so that's still not great. But when he's off the floor, it declines to 84.5, which is 10 points per 100 possessions worse than with him on. Now, having a good half-court offense isn't really something that we normally see from teams that are rebuilding or teams that have a ton of young talent, so I'm not really holding that against the Rockets here. I more so just want to place some emphasis on the fact that Sengun is playing a really significant role in getting them even close to that league average half-court offense. But what exactly does Sengun do that makes their offense function so much more effectively? Well, for one, he is a fantastic passer when he gets into the paint. This is due in part to the fact that he is such a great post-up scorer. He has really good post footwork, which probably shouldn't come as much of a surprise, considering he's spent time working out with 𝙖𝙗𝙤𝙪, one of the greatest post scorers in the history of the NBA. This is abundantly clear when you see some of the post footwork that Sengun exhibits on a nightly basis. He can leave defenders looking completely clueless, and when you add his great touch around the rim and the impressive baby hook and push shot, he's really the full post scoring package. He's been so good that he's one of only 6 players in the NBA shooting 53% higher on post-ups out of all players attempting more than 2.5 post-ups per game. So the fact that Sengun is a highly talented post scorer is great, but there's more to it than just what it means for his scoring potential. You see, one thing that makes a player like Nikola Jokic so great is that he leverages his post-scoring gravity into high percentage shots for his teammates. When Jokic gets double teamed in the post or in the paint, he's able to send it out to shooters on the perimeter or find guys cutting to the basket with ease. Sengun also possesses this understanding and ability, and he's shown that he can leverage it on a consistent basis to create for others. Empty corner pick and rolls like this are easy money for Houston because Jalen is obviously a very talented finisher and Sengun demands so much attention on the interior. What this allows to happen is for somebody to cut from the perimeter when the help defense slides over on Sengun, and he can send this beautiful wraparound pass to Jabari Smith Jr. on the cut for the dunk. When he's operating in the short roll, the Rockets can operate in a similar fashion. Coby White is over in the corner matched up with KJ Martin, but when Green gets it to Sengun in the short roll, it's going to force Coby White to slide over and provide help, which leaves KJ Martin wide open to cut to the dunker spot, and he gets the ball for the finish. Sengun is also really good at selling his shot and getting defenders to bite on his pump fakes, using some footwork to get by his first two defenders and then leaping towards Kevon Looney as if he's going to put up a shot, and then he ultimately just ends up dumping it off to Smith Jr. to slam it home. Look at how he uses this drop step to get by Patrick Williams, which forces Vucevic to help onto him, which once again opens up a perfect opportunity to get the ball to Smith Jr. at the dunker spot for the easy bucket. Yes, Houston's offense hasn't been great this year, but there is one certainty. If Sengun has the ball in the paint, send somebody cutting to the dunker spot because Sengun is going to find them. Additionally, on top of being able to find cutters, he's also able to bait double teams in the post, which will oftentimes open up easy kickouts to the perimeter for spot-up opportunities for his teammates. Using him as a hub for your offense out of the post is one of the easiest ways for this team to generate good looks, and with the perimeter shooting talent that this team has, that's one of the best things that they can aim for. We can take all of this a step further and look at how he bolsters their perimeter shooting ability when utilizing handoffs for his teammates to come off of screens and get into their shots. This pass is ridiculous, sending it between his legs on the handoff and immediately screening for Jabari Smith to get an open look at a mid-range jumper. Sengun and Green have seemingly developed some really solid chemistry with one another when Sengun is initiating DHOs. When they initiate dribble handoffs together, Green is either able to drive to the basket or he can get into an open three-point shot. Putting such an emphasis on initiating handoffs between Jalen Green and Sengun has a couple of different implications. One, it allows Jalen to get open looks from beyond the arc or get downhill to the basket. And two, it allows Jalen Green to get open mid-range shots when opposing defenses are operating in drop coverage. I know a lot of fans have been hoping Jalen Green would start to integrate more mid-range shots into his diet, and if the Rockets were to lean more heavily into this philosophy of initiating dribble handoffs through Sengun, it's going to help create a lot of those mid-range opportunities for Jalen so he can ultimately develop that shot and make it a more reliable part of his scoring arsenal. Real quick guys, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Underdog Fantasy. With Underdog's NBA Pick'em, they make it super simple to win big. They've got individual player props to pick from for every single NBA game. All you have to do is pick higher or lower, and once you have your slip, make your wager and submit. You can make wagers for as low as $1 and win anywhere from 3 times your money all the way up to 20 times your money. And now with Pick'em Insurance, you can still win money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Sign up using code AlexHoops with the link in the description today, and they'll match your first deposit up to $100. Be sure to play responsibly, and thanks again to Underdog for sponsoring today's video. My overall point when talking about Sengun's playmaking ability isn't just to point out that he's a good passer in a vacuum. The fact that he's good at passing is one thing, it's the fact that his passing ability fits perfectly within the context of this team. He makes his teammates better with his playmaking ability, which is what makes a great playmaker a great playmaker. This Rockets team doesn't really have the most playmaking talent in the world, so there's been a severe need for somebody that can operate as the go-to playmaker and be the one to facilitate their offense. Now that Sengun has been taking on that role, we're seeing that there's some stuff that this Rockets team is capable of doing that works really, really well. It's just going to be a matter of leaning into it more aggressively and establishing a consistent scheme that allows everything to work in tandem together. Unfortunately, Stephen Silas hasn't been able to craft that scheme or implement it in any sort of meaningful way just yet, so only time is going to tell if that changes or if the Rockets are going to seek out a coach that knows how to utilize their young talent more effectively. In a season where Rockets fans were expecting this team to take on a more clear identity and take some steps in the rebuilding process, that hasn't really happened. But Sengun's emergence as a perfect complement next to Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr. is a bright spot of this season, and there's plenty of optimism that after this year's draft, this team can start to paint a clearer picture of what their path back to postseason basketball is going to look like. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more like this, let me know in the comments and be sure to leave a like and subscribe. That's the #1 way to support me and help me continue making content. Thanks again to Underdog for sponsoring today's video. Be sure to click the link below to sign up now. I'm going to be doing some daily drafts here in the future, so go sign up so that you don't miss any. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one.